This game is the reason why I started a YouTube channel. After playing DK Bonanza, playing the Kirby DLC, I was just entirely on a whole new platformer high. All I could think about was just playing another platformer, and that's when I remembered that I still hadn't opened my Astrobot game that I had got in 2024. I had seen plenty of clips of this game, especially like on Twitter. I saw plenty of articles, and I just knew that I was in for a treat, but it did way more than just that. This game reminded me why I love playing video games, why I adore the hell out of platformers, and why I constantly just yearn and advocate for gaming companies to make games like this, especially in the midst of an industry where rising costs and long development times are just getting way more and more risky. This is why Astrobot matters. So to start off, let's talk about the level design and the gameplay. Astrobot's level design, without a doubt, is so ridiculously creative and enjoyable that I will say that Nintendo, you seriously have some serious competition. Each level felt and played completely different, and the dev team took it up a notch by introducing certain gimmicks to further increase the versatility of the gameplay. For example, my favorite gimmick was the sponge power-up, where Astrobot would literally turn into a sponge, and the only way you could progress through the level was by soaking up water and completely expelling it all around you. Another gimmick that was so fun to use was the mouse gimmick, or in other words, like you pretty much just shrunk and turned tiny basically. I thought those were some of the most innovative mechanics in the entire game, and it felt so refreshing. Now, let me preface this by saying, do not get me wrong, DK Bonanza and Mario Odyssey are some of Nintendo's best platforms, and they utilize their gimmicks very effectively, but I seriously really enjoy how Team Asobi puts so much work into creating these gimmicks that just weave so well into the levels that they created. And they take it a step further by utilizing the DualSense controller for just an all-around incredible immersive experience. I would also like to emphasize how Team Asobi would deviate from the linear experience, and they would create levels that featured a more non-linear experience. So for example, the Big Brother level where you had to save the giant robot on the beach, the underwater level where you had to save the giant starfish, which you could probably compare to the big beach water level in Mario Odyssey. It was a really nice break from the typical gameplay, and it primarily focused on the player exploring the map to find collectibles, find more bots. These creative decisions were genius because it really gives the player a fresh new experience compared to what they've experienced before. And as I mentioned previously, almost every single level felt completely different after the next. It's exciting. It makes you think about what level is going to come next. What other things am I going to experiment inside this world? I can see the Nintendo inspiration all over this game, and I think Team Asobi did an amazing job by using that inspiration and spinning it into something that fit their own creative direction and essentially gives their game an identity. I really want to go a little bit more in depth about the actual difficulty of the levels. If you've played Astrobot, Team Asobi did not hold back when it came to some of the more hidden or secret levels in the game. As painful as these levels were, I believe Team Asobi made sure to include these types of levels just to give the player a chance to break away from the somewhat easy to normal gameplay, because we all know if you played platformers before, it's pretty straightforward. Sometimes they're not necessarily that difficult, and they aren't usually the hardest thing in the world. However, these levels added a lot of challenge and were no joke, and they gave me some pretty good rage clips.
That's so nice. Oh my god. Oh my god. Keep going. Go, 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 go. Whoa. 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 Oh. Oh my god. Oh my. Yo. need you to jump. Oh my
To
god.
be completely honest, I was extremely humbled because some of the levels were so insane and they genuinely had me so dumbfounded by how complex and difficult they were. Some of the hardest levels just straight up felt like complete rage bait.
What the f, girl?
Appreciate that. So one more thing that I will add about the gameplay, exploration is such a critical part of the entire gameplay, because if you don't really take time exploring, you will not really get the most out of the game. There are so many incentives for the player to encourage exploring brand new secret levels that are otherwise inaccessible unless you explore, getting more bots which will allow more access to areas inside the crash site, getting puzzle pieces that will unlock things like the gacha lab or the DualSense garage. With so many different things that you're able to unlock in the game, it gives the levels lots of replay value. It's way easier to collect collectibles that you've missed because the game literally gives you like a cheat, and you have like a little birdie that will help you like literally find everything. Now everybody knows that this is a love letter to everything that's just PlayStation, and the most notable part of the game is how you have to collect bots that are stranded around the galaxy. And not to dive into a little drama, but I really disliked the PlayStation ad jab that a lot of people would use as an argument against Astrobot winning Game of the Year. It really feels disingenuous, and you can outright tell who hasn't played the game when they make these remarks. I also think people get way too crazy when it comes to the Game Awards, as if a game winning an award and the others didn't just automatically means that those games are worthless, they are terrible and they're trash and they need to be set aflame and they need to be burned to ashes. It really feels disrespectful to the developers too, because you can really tell that they put their entire heart and soul into this game. Astrobot happening to be owned by PlayStation doesn't mean they should be excluded from receiving recognition too. A game as passionate as this deserves to be seen just like many others. Astrobot isn't just a love letter to PlayStation fans, it's a love letter to gamers all around. I really want Astrobot to serve as a reminder that people love games just like this. Trust me, I love the big boy games too, but sometimes I want something a little different from these big publishers. I want PlayStation to see how much people love games like Astrobot, and they want to see more games like it. Astrobot was made in just 3 years and had a smaller budget compared to your heavy hitter AAA video games, which I'm sure some of you know, video games are really starting to cost a lot more to make and development times are getting a lot longer. I really think that this is making the gaming industry feel like they're just treading on thin ice. We have seen what happens when multi-million-dollar games fail and don't meet expectations. Astrobot is proof that smaller scaled games work and they're achievable when you allocate the proper amount of money and resources to create a game. Now, I have spent a hefty amount of time gushing about this game. I've been wanting to make a video about Astrobot for quite some time now, and I really needed to get my feelings out there because I had such a wonderful, amazing experience with this game. Astrobot made me think about my journey with PlayStation and just my journey with video games overall. The final showdown in the game genuinely brought me to tears. It kind of felt like I was seeing younger versions of myself with every single console that appeared to take down the evil alien. Yes, I cried. I really had the hardest time letting this game go because my wondrous adventure with Astrobot was coming to an end. I hope Astrobot is the catalyst for PlayStation to create more and more wonderful platformers. This is why Astrobot matters.